This is Perspectivas Latinas, a community service of CAN TV. I'm your host, Juan Carlos Hernandez. Corazon is an organization working to empower the community of South Chicago through education. They offer ESL tutoring, an after-school program, and computer literacy classes, among other services. Our guests are here to talk about their work. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Let's start by talking to you, Sister Loretta, about your role at the organization and how you came to it.
Corazon is sponsored by the School Sisters of Notre Dame. I am a member of that community, and so there was a need for someone to come and be the director at Corazon. So I was asked from Baltimore. I live in Baltimore. I was asked if I would come here to work in the Hispanic community and in Chicago. I had no experience in the Latino community, nor had I ever been to Chicago. So now I'm on my 4th year of being the executive director at Corazon, and having just a wonderful time on learning what it is like to work and be in South Shore, how wonderful it is that so many women and men care so much about themselves that they want to learn English, and so I've been delighted to be there.
So somebody in Baltimore said, would you like to go to Chicago?
About 4 times.
About 4 times.
And about 3 times I said, of course I wouldn't. I'm working here in Baltimore, and that's where I grew up, and that's a nice place to be. But it's very important for us as School Sisters of Notre Dame to look at what we are working with, and we have 13 sponsored works, and this is one of them. 13 throughout where we are, and we're an international community.
Oh, wow.
And we're one of them. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, we can probably talk about that further in the program. Charles, please tell us about yourself and how you came to the organization, some of your background, please.
Well, originally, I actually applied for the position of education coordinator as soon as Sister Loretta came into town, like literally as soon as she came in. I didn't get the position. And then it came up again, and I reapplied, and then she asked me, well, what's different now? I was like 2 years worth of experience. And so I ended up, obviously getting a position. I do live in South Shore, and I do work in South Chicago. Those are my home communities. And I've been working in education since I graduated from undergrad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Where did you go to undergrad?
Eastern Illinois University.
Okay, so you came back home after you studied out there?
Yeah.
Awesome, great. And Kathryn, but for the purposes of this show, we'll call you Katie. Please tell us about yourself and how you came to Corazon.
Well, I actually I came to Corazon after working on a mission project in Santo Domingo for 5 months. I returned to the States, got engaged and came to Chicago, and was looking for something that had a very positive impact, and I was looking for a position that was very rewarding, and so Corazon was it.
And had you been to Chicago before?
I had. I actually lived here before going to Santo Domingo.
Oh, awesome. So let's talk about the community that you serve, South Chicago, South Shore, right by the lake, close to the lake. But in my perspective, my view of things, these are communities in our city that tend to get overlooked or just driven through, and that's pretty much it. Hardly anybody pays attention to those communities anymore, ever since, well, I would say the 70s, because so many of the steamrollers just shut down and, people have just left. Is my view of that area accurate? Or?
It's very accurate. After the steel mills shut down, obviously, they employed a lot of people, and so when they left, people migrated from the communities. And when you think about South Chicago, when you drive through South Chicago now, you still see, the remnants of the steel mills, and you see the taverns where they used to go at. But now, most of it is boarded up because, the population is gone, and it is a afterthought in some people's mind. They have the new development that they're building. And that's
over along US 41, right?
Yes. So that's the lakeside development, and that's going to bring a lot of new infrastructure to South Chicago and South Shore, but that's a lot of years in the work.
Right. And so Corazon comes in, when did the organization start?
We started 10 years ago, and we started farther south, 91st Street, I think it was,
Okay.
in the Latino community. And something happened with the building or whatever, and we had to leave in a hurry, and so we wound up at St. Michael's on the second floor in the what was the convent. When I arrived, I found out that we actually are in the African American community if you draw a line. So having said that, I have talked to some of the women. In fact, we got a grant from the Tribune, and they asked for people who got grants to come together to talk about the community. And I thought, well, I don't know anything, so I talked to the women. And what they said was that they love their community. I asked how long they had been there. They love their community, and the good things are good transportation, good housing, etc. And the bad things are, we're worried about gangs. There's a swimming pool only on the outside, so we don't have, we can't go swimming during the year. And we don't come together. And I thought, and I said, and why? And they said, somehow we have a reputation of South Shore not being a good place to live. And that was interesting to me, that they had such positive and such real negative kind of things. Now the Trib said, the one thing we know, because they drive around to see the community, is that you are very underserved. I said, well, do something. But they saw that in what we have to help people as far as health things, health, school. We have them, but what they saw was we needed much more work there to really make this a community like it should be in Chicago. I found it wonderful so far.
Okay, so the school's Sisters of Notre Dame said they said we're going to start this organization, and with some sponsorship from some foundations, they were able to get this off the ground.
Actually, the School Sisters of Notre Dame ran Academy of Our Lady, which is in South Shore. That's a high school, and it needed to close. And so they met. I was not a part of the community at that point. They met and said, should we have a presence in South Shore? And Sister said, yes, we should. They did some research and said, what is the greatest need? Talked to all over the priest and the aldermen, and they decided that what we do is the most important thing needed at that time. We're talking about 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
And so that's why we got here. I looked around for everybody we knew. We didn't know anybody. We didn't know the SSNDs are not located there anymore. But the fact that we have that presence makes it the reason we are there.
Okay. And well, this question is for both of you. How have you seen the presence of this organization make an impact and a change down in South Shore and South Chicago? Charles?
Well, in the after-school program, because we sit directly on the border of South Chicago and South Shore, so my student population is 60% Hispanic, Latina, then 40% African American, and it flip-flops. But we get a very diverse after-school program, and so you see kids learning about Mexican culture, and then you have kids learning about African American culture and bridging it. And so you see a bridge between the two communities, which is where it really starts with the children.
Right. So it's something that there are very few programs that do that, right? That actually make a link between the two communities in a very meaningful way after school. I guess that would be tutoring.
Yeah, it would be after school tutoring.
So, if it's tutoring, are you linked to the coursework they have in their
Yes,
schools?
we have the course. We actually get the lesson plans from the teachers. So when the teachers upload the lesson plans and send them to the principals, we get CC'd on the email.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And how do you see the dynamic between these sister communities and these and the work that they're doing together? How's that dynamic? How do they work, and how do they respond to each other? What have you seen?
I've really seen a positive impact that the school system Notre Dame brings to the community. When you look at our numbers, you know, whether it's the after school program or the ESL program, people are always excited. They're always calling, and they always want to know, do we have openings, you know, for either one of our programs. So you see that positive impact across both communities. Yeah.
Awesome. And Katie?
Well, it's not only the bridge between the Mexican and African American communities for the kids, but I see learning happening for everyone involved in our organization. All of our volunteers, they learn as much as the children do, and I think that brings something special and important to the area as well, because then there's an awareness of the reality, and people are educated in a way that maybe they can't be in a regular classroom.
What do you mean by that? And not educated in a way that they wouldn't be in a regular classroom.
I think because people who come to Corazon to tutor, they are impacted in some way, positively, by the interactions that they've had with their students, learning from the staff members of the organization, learning from the people who are learning at the organization. So I think that it's just it brings something to the community that is wonderful, just in all aspects of it.
Okay, great. And once you see that learning taking place, give me some examples of people or children as well as adults who've been transformed by the work you're doing there. Sister Loretta, tell us about, in your 4 years, you've been there 4 years now?
I'm getting the fourth. Yes.
Yes. Tell us about one person or family that comes to mind when you think, wow, we really made, together with them, we've made a huge difference here, and it's something that I won't forget.
I could tell you many about families, but I'm going to tell you a story that I've never forgotten, and that is 3 children, 3 sixth graders, and they went to school together, and one had the reputation of being a bully, and so the coordinator called her mother and said, this is what's happening, not here in school, and also we're not having it here. And she said, oh, she's always been a bully. There's nothing we can do about it.
Wow.
So, and so there were 3 of them, and we worked very hard. The coordinator worked very hard to say that is not anything that could be, whatever that means to you, being a bully, you can't do it here. They were in the school next door, and they came, this is a month or so later, and the 3 of them did a project together. And so they came over, they wanted to show me their project. The coordinator had me come out, and they looking at the project, and it was really good. And she said, stop. Let's go to the most important thing. How are you getting along, and how are you treating each other? Oh, wow. Wow, we get it. And that's all she said. And we understand what you're saying, and we're getting along very well.
Oh, wow.
Now, to me, that's what we're about, to be able to help adults and the children to make that little turn, that the bully didn't have to be a bully anymore, the 2 that were against, you know, each other because they wanted to be with the bully, didn't have to worry about that anymore. So that is one that I keep in my heart, and I'm sure there are others.
So it's a transformational process.
Absolutely.
Charles, tell us about one of your experiences, please.
One of my experiences actually has nothing to do with my students or the children. It was when I first got to Corazon, and it was an older Mexican gentleman who was coming to Corazon, and he was coming because he wanted to learn English. Now, he had worked his entire life in South Chicago, knowing no English, and which was okay because, you know, the companies he worked for spoke Spanish.
Right.
But his neighbors moved in. He had 2 new neighbors who moved in, and he wanted to be able to talk to them.
Oh, wow.
So he came to Corazon every day, you know, to learn English so that he could, you know,
How old was he?
He has to be like in his 50s or 60s, you know, and he came to Corazon just to be able to converse with his neighbors, you know.
Oh,
and
wow.
that spoke volumes to me, you know.
Right. And he was there every time he was scheduled?
Yeah, every time he was scheduled.
Oh, is he still coming to Corazon? Or?
I haven't saw one.
No.
Yeah.
But he got what he needed and
Yeah.
grew. Katie, tell us about one of your experiences. You've been there how long now?
Just about a year.
Okay.
And one of my experiences, I don't know, there have been children in the after-school program who have rushed up to me and given me drawings, things that they've made in school, you know, and just having that sense of accomplishment. That they've learned something new, and you know, and that they can learn, and that they're special, and it's very impactful, and that's been most of my experience.
And I imagine very rewarding as well.
Yes.
Okay, now let's talk about how Corazon works. Let's say I'm the example that you gave us, Charles, I think is excellent. I'm an adult, and I don't speak much English or no English at all. How do I start taking classes? How do you measure my growth? And how do you get me involved in my own learning? Tell me about that.
Well, first when somebody comes to our organization, they take a little assessment test and talk with our ESL coordinator for a little while. And he finds out exactly what they're trying to work toward. For some it's working towards a driver's license. You know, or others it's important to be able to converse with people in their construction job. And so then during the ESL program, the curriculum is really tailored to the students' needs.
Okay, so you might focus specifically on the vocabulary and the conversation around work. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it depends. Again, it depends on the students' needs. There have been others who have wanted to be able to take their GED exam.
Okay.
And so it's really dependent upon what the student needs us to do.
Okay,
for
Sister
them.
Loretta, you wanted to say something?
I did a survey of people enrolling, and for many women, they want to be able to speak to their child's teacher.
Okay.
Not for men, it's so much. I thought that was interesting, and so that's why they came. Their child was getting ready to go to school, and they needed to be able to speak to their the teacher. And for others, I think the job is the hope, but I think it's time for me to learn English. And they don't really. I don't think they know. They know that they need to do that to become part of the community. Okay. And they've said that before. So, and you walk in and it's one-on-one, and we have many different hours during the day, but also 2 at night. And we try to match you up that when you can come, and then of course you have a relationship with the tutor. So really not okay. It gets not for the tutor better be there and the learner better be there, or you know, they've hurt their friend, they become friends.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
There are many different aspects of you know, being native to a language and speaking a language that that people don't kind of take for granted. For example, making doctor appointments, going to the grocery store, you know, things like that that are very basic human necessities that that people sometimes need help with, based on their language capability.
So once they acquire or learn the language or take the learning of English to the level that they want, what happens then with them? They graduate, they move forward.
Some of them continue to volunteer with us.
Oh, really?
After they have finished the coursework with us.
So they tutor? They become tutors themselves, or what?
Or they work around, but some have become tutors.
Wow.
And that is a goal that I would love to see more of.
How
But
awesome.
when people finish learning, and when the life often comes into best of us, and this is what we need to do, and then there's another baby coming to the family, or I got a job, kind of thing. So then they come less. So I don't think anybody ever quite finishes. They always want to learn more or move to something else.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's how the ESL, one-on-one ESL tutoring works, right? And it's computer assisted, right?
The Rosetta Stone. Yes.
Okay, you work with Rosetta Stone, and obviously with the one-on-one tutoring. And then you have your after-school program.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me about how that works. Parents drag their kids in kicking and screaming, or what?
Well, normally we take kids from surrounding schools, so Niños Heroes, New Sullivan, but the bunch of our kids, the bunch come from St. Michael's, which is the school right next door, you know, right on site. Yeah, exactly. And so they come in, they're in small groups of 4 to 5 with the tutor, single tutor. And we, like I said, we get the lesson plans from the teacher, so we know what the homework is. And we just go over the homework with them, making sure that they comprehend it and that it's correct.
And if you ever have any issues with the students, or there's something that they're not quite getting, how do you work through those? How do you? Because teaching is tough, and you're in many ways you're helping teach these children.
Yeah, teaching is tough. If a student is having issues with, say, math or reading in particular, we do pull them aside and put them in a one-on-one group. We have one tutor in particular who's taught math at the high school level for about 20 years. So when people say, hey, I need help with math, they go and they sit with her and they, you know, do the math until they fully comprehend what they're doing. Some of the issues, we had one child, you know, where ESL was the issue, you know, they only spoke Spanish in his household. So how do you overcome that? I mean, that was the issue for me because how do I help this child, you know, when, you know, we're speaking two totally different languages, and but we got someone who was able to help him as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long does this program last? It's right after school, and they go in, and then they stay till what?
They stay to 5, so they come in. We go outside. We give them some free time so they can, you know, run off some of their energy. When they come back, we give them a snack, and then they go directly into their small groups. We also give them a supper.
Oh, you do too?
Yes.
Well, yes, sister?
No, it was just, we found that the snack wasn't enough, that it wasn't that big a time, but they were very hungry, and I'm pleased as can be that they do eat up that snack. I mean, the lunch, or whatever it's called.
Yeah. And it runs until 5.
Until 5?
Yeah.
And parents come by for them, and then they go home?
Yeah.
Sign them.
Oh, they have to sign out?
Yeah, they have to sign them out.
Okay, great. And you have also the summer
Achievement Camp.
Achievement Camp. Tell me about that. All of you are involved in that?
Yeah.
In some way or another?
Well, when I first came, they had the Summer Achievement Camp, and so it was, you know, I just basically picked up the reins of it. But I wanted to, so I got my degree in biological sciences.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to change what we did. So I wanted to push STEM sciences every day.
Mm-hmm.
So
STEM
like,
is what again? I know. I forgot
science, technology, engineering, math.
Okay.
Yeah. And what we really did was I wanted the kids doing science. You see science dying in the CPS schools.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see a lot of kids doing experiments. They just don't have the budget.
Right.
So what I wanted to do was, in the summer program, we're going to do, an experiment once a week. We're going to do science every day. And we pushed that. But the summer program runs from July to August. It's a 4-week program.
4-week program.
Yeah.
And it's children from the neighborhood?
Yes, children from the neighborhood.
7 schools last year.
7 schools? How many children last year?
52.
52.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Exactly.
How many could we serve?
Exactly.
Right.
30.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
And what's the time? Because parents are always curious about that.
Yeah,
They want to get the kids out of the house and out
It
of
was
their hair.
9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Wow, that's
Yes,
nice.
the full day to accommodate the parent.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And Katie, how are you part of that? Or do you help coordinate or assist with whatever? And it's all hands on deck for that?
I kind of help coordinate, make phone calls, work at the computer, analyze things. I'm kind of there to do. I've patched up skinned knees and.
Mm-hmm.
Katie's being modest. She does everything.
But Katie, what are you doing
Literally
now?
everything.
What are you doing now that is so important to Charles come when it starts? Interns.
Oh yes, I'm currently interviewing the Summer Achievement Camp tutor interns. So the people who will be running the program, not running the program, but teaching each of the separate classes. We have very small class sizes. There'll be 5 children per tutor. So I've been talking to a lot of fun tutors, and I'm excited about our 2014 Summer Achievement Camp staff.
Great.
So.
Awesome. It's great to hear from you all, and we're out of time. And if more people want more information, just go to your website. Thank you so much for coming out today and sharing this with us and with our viewers.
Thank you.
Thank
It's been
you for
wonderful
Thank
to
you
be
for
here.
having us.
Yeah.
Really.
And to you, our audience, thank you for joining us. Perspectivas Latinas is a community service of CAN TV. If your nonprofit organization would like to work with CAN TV, call 312-738-1400 and ask for nonprofit services. Tune into Perspectivas Latinas for local issues and concerns every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. on CAN TV 21. I'm Juan Carlos Hernandez. Thank you for joining us.